Welcome to the Bike Talk with Dave podcast. My name is Dave Mabel and I am your host. Our guest this week is Benny Foltz of Omaha, Nebraska. He runs the bike share programs in 3 very different municipalities in Nebraska. Each one is pretty unique. I met Benny on RAGBRAI of all places. The funny thing is, we were both riding against traffic, leaving from one of the overnight towns and riding out to meet friends. Now, time out. I'm going to put my conversation with Benny on hold for just a minute to tell you about my RAGBRAI experience. As you likely know, RAGBRAI is the 7-day bike ride across Iowa every July, and thousands of people do it each year. Each day, riders tackle anywhere from 40 to 100 miles, and me, being less than 4 months out from knee surgery on the first day of the ride, I was not ready to tackle that many miles, but I did want to participate as fully as I could. So typically I drove our support vehicle to the next overnight town, and then I rode out backwards on the route, well, not always on the route, but backwards against the grain of the traffic, 10 or so miles to meet up with my wife Dee, my son Ryan, and the rest of our group. Lucky for me, there was usually a beer garden about 10 miles out where we could meet and enjoy a cold refreshment. And after doing so, we would ride back into town for the night, giving me 20 or 25 miles on the day. I did that for the first 4 days. It was perfect. I felt great. So on Thursday of RAGBRAI, I was celebrating my 4-month knee-anniversary. So I had our daughter Anna drop me off en route with about 35 miles to go. After doing 20 miles for 4 days, I thought 35 would be pretty safe. So I hopped on my bike and I headed east, not riding with anyone in particular, but enjoying the lightly rolling hills and the tailwind. Amazingly, I happened upon the first beer garden and I stopped to wait for Dee and Ryan. After fueling up, we cruised east. I was feeling great. The knee was doing great. It was actually way better, in fact, riding a bike than when we would walk around town looking for dinner each night. So the biking was great, and when I joined Dee and Ryan, I just stuck to their wheels. And as it was the day with the optional Karis loop for riders wanting to ride a century, which Dee and Ryan opted to do, I snuck in a few extra miles with them before I turned back to wait for them at the last little beer garden. And when they came around from completing the extra loop, which gave them 100 miles for the day, we together rode in the final 6 miles to town, all of which gave me a total of 40 miles on the 4-month anniversary of my knee surgery. And that was a pretty fun milestone. I thought I'd catch you up to that after all of my whining after 12 weeks, and then my group therapy session with Jess Hodder, and I thought you'd enjoy hearing how I celebrated my 4-month knee anniversary. Okay, back to this week's guest. As I was doing one of those out and back rides, I ran into Benny. Actually, Benny ran into me as he caught up to me. I was battling a bit of a headwind and a long, relentless climb out of a river valley. So I enjoyed his draft for a bit as we got to know each other, and I discovered that he runs the organization that operates the bike share programs in Nebraska, and he's doing some pretty cool and unique things with it, which I thought people should hear about. So I dialed him up and I asked him to share their story with us. So let's drop in with Benny Foltz, CEO of ROAM, the Nebraska Bike Share Program. Benny Foltz, welcome to Bike Talk with Dave. You are here as the CEO of ROAM. We call it ROAM Share. ROAM Share is the legal, but you're just roam. You just roam about the countryside.
Yeah, just roaming around on bikes, sharing bikes and roaming around.
I love it. That's actually how we met, was roaming around on bikes on, and I find this hard to believe, on RAGBRAI, your first experience with RAGBRAI this year.
Well, second actually. I tried to do it 10 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't share that part, but I actually got thrown into county jail for public intoxication and was
Oh,
unable
no
to.
way.
Yeah, I actually
That
got.
sounds like Ragbri.
Yeah. Well, I got sober later that year, and I've been sober ever since.
Attaboy, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
a funny Ragbri story, actually. In Council Bluffs, was that a year it started in Council Bluffs?
Started in Glenwood,
Okay.
Iowa, 2016. I made it as far as Mount Ayr in Ringgold County.
Okay, yeah. Yep, that was a southerly route.
Yes. Yep.
Um, well, so we met on your second experience with Ragbri, and I'm talking to you here today, so I feel like it ended better. Um,
No county jails. It was
no
great.
county jails, nothing. And we actually met while we were both at the first overnight town that we were riding to. So it was on a Sunday afternoon, I believe, leaving Harlan. Is that right? No.
No, we
Guthrie
met.
Center. It was the second day. It was Monday, wasn't it?
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
Hot.
it was hot. Yeah, first and second days were very hot. And you were riding backwards out of Guthrie Center to meet up with the route, and I was doing the same to meet up with my wife and son, who were riding towards me. Um, and we got to chatting, and I truly appreciated your wheel because it was basically uphill and into the wind the entire way west.
A hot wind.
It was a hot wind for sure. So it was a pleasure to meet you there, and I'm glad we could connect. For clarification, you are located in Omaha, Nebraska, and you run a bike share program, or several, and I'm excited to hear about them. I feel like they're pretty unique as far as bike share programs, and I think you have a interesting model, not only for a large metropolis. I'm calling Omaha a large metropolis.
Sure.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It is bigger than Des Moines, so you're
The
larger
30th
metropolis than
largest
Des Moines.
city in the U.S., so it's a lot larger than people think.
Yeah, it is a big city. But anyway, you've got a bike share program in Omaha, and I think those are somewhat common. Bike share or scooter share type of programs are common in larger cities. You also are in a college town of Lincoln, Nebraska, and you're also in, and I'm excited to talk about this, Valentine, Nebraska. Google it, look it up on a map if you don't know where Valentine, Nebraska is, and you'll be like me if you're Googling it and be like, seriously, you did a bike share program in Valentine, Nebraska? So I'm excited to hear about that. So first of all, let's dive into it and tell me about Rome. What is Rome, and what are your objectives, and what do you guys do?
Sure. Yeah, so Rome Share it's a 501c3 nonprofit based in Nebraska. Our headquarters is in Omaha, and our whole objective is to provide bike share, more butts on bikes, we like to say. We try to make it as affordable as possible, as accessible as possible, and we try to be everywhere, if where it makes sense, of course. But we firmly believe in the bicycle as a valid form of transportation. And so we view ourselves, as many bike share programs do, as a form of public transit. Now we also touch on the recreational component as well. We have a lot of stations at lakes and on trails where people are just, riding for fun. We have people who ride for exercise, but we really focus on people riding for transportation to get from point A to point B.
Very cool. So how does your typical bike share program work? Like, somebody's walking around a trail that goes around a park lake, and they see a rack of bikes that say, either Heartland or I like this one, Bike Link, on the side. How does that work? How do they get on one and take a cruise around the lake?
Yep. And our programs are very similar to most of them these days, very streamlined, completely app-based for the most part. So most programs don't even have the credit card reader at the kiosk anymore. So you download our app. Currently it's called the B-Cycle app, and you pick the program that you're at, and it'll locate you to the station you're probably standing in front of. And so you've got to enter some of your information, like your name and a credit card And then you select the membership type that you want to do. You could just do a single day membership, a month membership, or an annual membership. In our programs, those give you unlimited bike trips that are 60 minutes or less. So it's very affordable. So for a day pass for $16, you can ride for 24 hours. As long as you return the bike within 60 minutes, we won't charge you anything else. If you ride beyond 60 minutes, it's just $5 each additional hour. But what most people do is they return the bike within 60 minutes and then they just check it out again and they get another 60 minutes.
So you can't go for a 4-hour ride. You can go for 4 1-hour rides consecutively.
If you don't want to be charged any extra. You certainly can ride for 4 straight hours. You would just be charged for 3 additional hours, which would be, $5 per hour, so 15.
Can you do it on the app, or do you have to go to a station?
Well, you have to enter all your information and your credit card info on the app, and that's how you then check out the bike. Because you'll actually select which bike you want to ride, and it'll unlock the bike for you via the app. And then once your bike's out, it'll have a counter for you, and you can ride it anywhere. And we have stations sprinkled throughout the cities that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
So generally speaking, there is almost always a station within a very short rideable distance if you're approaching that 60 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can just return the bike and then check it out again. Or sometimes, we have all e-bikes for our Heartland Bike Share program. Sometimes that battery might be low, or maybe the tire's a little funky or something, and so you just want a different bike. You can just check that bike in and then check out a different bike, and it might be a better ride.
Dig it. That's cool. That makes sense. That's how it typically works. If I'm visiting Omaha, $16, I can ride the thing 24 hours, cruise all over town, go to the old market, go to the baseball stadium, wherever. Omaha is actually a pretty cool city, and I would encourage people to spend a weekend in Omaha. However, you did something a little different in Omaha. What is that?
We did. So in April of this year, we made Heartland Bike Share completely free for anyone that lives in the Omaha metro area. So Heartland Bike Share is in Omaha mostly, but it is also in all of the surrounding cities and communities, which includes Council Bluffs, Iowa, and then Bellevue, Papillion, La Vista, and Ralston, Nebraska, as well as our largest state park, Mahoney State Park. And so if you live in one of those cities, you can go to our website at heartlandbikeshare.org and fill out a pretty simple application. And within 3 to 5 business days after we review it, you can get a unique promo code that gives you a full annual pass for free. And we're one of the first to do a free rides program like this, and we're definitely the first program of our size with all e-bikes that's in multiple cities and counties to ever do it. And it's been wildly successful actually since April. We actually just paused the program for like a week to get caught up on some of our applications, but it's back, it's live and back on now, so people can go back to it. We've had over 5,000 people submit applications just since April. 3,500 of them have completed it entirely and have their Heartland Bike Share annual pass and are riding. And it's really introducing a lot of people to bike share in the Omaha Metro that never thought bike share was for them or even knew that we existed.
Okay, I'm kind of blown away. Wildly successful. I paint for a living, and I could say, if you live in the Des Moines metropolitan area, I'll paint your house for free. And it would be wildly successful, and I would starve to death doing it. So your bikes cost money, maintenance costs money, you fill them up with electricity, they are e-bikes, that has to cost money, the batteries cost money. Like, it's not free to do this. I don't understand how you can do this successfully and keep it rolling.
It sounds like a big lift and it is. I don't want to minimize what we're doing, but the reality of bike share and any public transit is that the system generated revenue, or the fare box recovery as they call it, is very low. We make hardly any money
Oh,
from the system. I'm talking like 10% of our budget is actually from memberships. Sometimes it's even less than that.
huh.
And so, you know, it's not like I'm losing out on a whole bunch of money by removing these membership fees. Um, but we are getting busier, so the operational cost has increased, of course. But I'll just also add, of that 10%, half of it is actually out of state or out of the communities. So I'm still retaining that system generated revenue from the out of town riders. And that's a big component. So we're still earning that. So I really just had to raise enough to offset that 5% ish, um, which was a big
Mm-hmm.
deal. But we have shown a lot of success over the years with our what we call an equity program. And so if somebody could not afford one of our passes in the past, we pretty much just gave them away for free. So we've already been doing this since like 2018, just not for everyone and not real publicly. But that has built up a base where year over year our equity program has increased. That we at some point were like felt that this was the year where we were able to make it for free, because we didn't just plan this overnight. This has been like 6-7 years in the making. Um, 6-7.
6-7, 6-7.
My 10-year-old's gonna love that part. Um,
Yep.
and it had, it took a lot of trust from our funders. Also, and our proven track record of what we're doing, and that, um, everything that we've been working for, especially once we deployed all e-bikes in 2023. And we were really starting to focus on these e-bikes as a form of transportation. And then we had data to back that up, that a lot of our funders said, let's see how this goes. And so we're about 60% funded from the philanthropic foundations, most of them local as well. We would not be able to do it without them. And then also we have an ordinance with the city of Omaha that is very strong. Our mayor is very supportive of what we're doing with this free rides program and extended our ordinance. We work with our public works department, specifically the Park Omaha and mobility division. And without their support, we wouldn't be able to do this either. And then each of those cities I mentioned, they all have pitched in, and they love the free rides because all of their residents, right, are getting a free pass now. And so it is truly just a community effort to make this happen. We're a few months in, and we're going to keep doing it. We're hoping to announce that we'll be able to extend it through 2027. For sure. Hopefully this fall we'll know more as we secure some more funding.
Oh, very cool. So I'm curious, as you, if 5 to 10% comes from ridership, the other 90 to 95% comes from all the things you just listed. Recently, bicycling was labeled as DEI by our federal government, and funding slashed for bicycle related things. Is that going to affect you? Does that put a crimp in where you get your funding, and is it going to affect the amount of ridership you can offer?
I mean, I would love more funding, especially from anywhere, but like from the federal government, that'd be great too. But we don't get any. Bike share is not federally defined yet as a form of public transportation, so we're not able to actually access federal dollars as easy as, say, a rail or a bus system. And so we have gotten federal funding on a few different grants. It just takes a little bit more work, and we honestly don't even go for it anymore. Not right now. Maybe down the road it'll be. There's this North America Bike Share and Scooter Share Association has been putting a lot of effort into trying to change the way that shared micromobility is defined at the federal level. But that needs to happen first before we can tap into those dollars. So we just focus on the local funding and sponsorships.
I mean, obviously, cities are getting that money for bike lanes, bike trails, bridges, infrastructure like that, which, if they're going to continue with the projects that they're no longer funded for, is going to affect where they can put money. Do you think that pass-through kind of money will affect you?
You know, surprisingly, our asks are often so low that they're not the things that get cut compared to the cost of the roads and the bridges. So far, anyways.
Okay. Yeah, that makes good sense. You're
Yeah.
you're the fingernail
Yes.
on the body. Yeah. And they just had their arm broken, and they're like, I don't care about my fingernail right now. Like, you're good, fingernail. Okay, that's super cool. I think that's neat, and I don't know. I think it's a interesting model for Omaha to present to the world, and we'll be anxious to watch and see. You mentioned 2027, and we'll be anxious to see if it goes into 28, 29, 30, and on, if that's a sustainable program for Omaha, and if other cities catch on. I think that's pretty cool.
I'll just add that Indianapolis has an amazing bike share program called the Pacer Bike Share Program, and they have a free rides program. And they're 2 years up on us, so they started it as far as metro cities go, and they had great success as well. And so we used their data actually to show how well it's used. And so hopefully, we work with them a lot now, that together we'll be able to share our data and expand it to other programs if they want to do something like this.
Have you had enough time to see a difference in ridership?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had stations I was considering retiring or relocating that now we've launched free rides, and there's people riding these stations they're no longer underperforming stations by any means. So we'll just keep them. In fact, we've had to add more docks to stations that I didn't think we would have next year because of this. It just is bringing out more and more people.
Huh, interesting. Speaking of dock, I'm curious, all of your e-bikes in each one of the programs, from Heartland, which is in the Omaha area, Bike Link, which is in Lincoln. Who came up with that?
The city of Lincoln actually owns Bike Link, everything, the equipment, the brand, and they pay Rome to operate it for them.
Dig it. That's cool. Well, the name is genius.
LNK is the airport call letters.
Makes sense. Yep. And then also up in Valentine, which we're going to get to here shortly. What was I going to ask? They're all e-bikes. How are they charged? Like, what are the mechanics of operating an e-bike on a 24/7, 365 type of program? Like, you're not plugging it in your garage overnight. They're in docks out in the real world.
I'll just real quick. Heartland Bike Share is all electric, with about 420 e-bikes since 2023, and Valentine Bike Share is all electric with 6 e-bikes as of last September. But BikeLink has 125 total bikes, but only 25 of them are e-bikes. So we still have 100 classic bikes in Lincoln. But they're all the same e-bike, and they all charge in the same manner, and that is by battery swaps. So we actually go to the bikes. We know when the battery is low, and we swap the low battery or the dead battery, and we put a full battery inside that bike, and then we bring that battery back to our shops, depending, whatever city we're in, and we charge it at the shop until another bike is needed. And we do this every day, sometimes multiple times a day, actually many times, multiple times a day. And when you run a bike share program, you'll have techs that are going out into the field to balance the system. Sometimes a station is full or empty, so you gotta move those bikes around. And every 3 weeks our hands are on a bike, and we're doing what we call a checkover. where we're just making sure the brakes work, there's air in the tires, nothing's funky on this bike. And then every year we do a complete overhaul, break down and build back up. But so our techs are already going out in the field every day, and so battery swaps are just another task that's being completed. But it is the busiest and most time-consuming task. There is in-dock charging stations that do exist. That's kind of the new thing in bike share. A lot of cities are starting to install them. Our vendor just released their first version of in-dock charging, which I'll get to see this fall, which I'm very excited about.
We'll be right back right after these words from our sponsors. Welcome back, and now let's get back to our conversation with Benny Foltz, CEO of the Nebraska Bike Share Programs. Speaking of techs, how do you know if somebody gets a flat tire, and what happens when you do?
One of the points of that every 3-week check over on every single bike is, to look to see if anything's wrong, so we can discover flat tires that way. But what happens probably 9 out of 10 times is the rider will report it to us, which is great. And so we have an option on the app to just hit report a issue, flat tire, and then we'll go out right away and bring that bike into the shop. Sometimes we can repair certain things on site, but we have enough bikes where we can swap it out and do it back at the shop in a controlled temperature environment.
Yeah, that makes sense on a hot summer day or a wet
and we're open in
day.
the winter. We get a lot of snow here, so.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I feel like some bike share programs in the north half of the U.S. put their bikes away for the winter.
No,
but not you guys.
We have thought about it. We're absolutely probably never going to do it at this point. In the past, we've thought about when we weren't as busy, but we'll still push 1,000+ trips no matter what month it is or what the weather is. We always have trips every single day because we have people who need to get to work, and if our bikes aren't there, then they're just going to have to walk. So they prefer riding our bikes generally.
Huh, that's awesome. I love that. I was going to ask about the difference between somebody using it as transportation versus recreation. Do you have a breakdown on those kind of stats?
And one great thing about our free rides program is we'll be able to get more accurate data collection because the user is required to answer some questions that we've been dying to know on our riders, and you have to fill it out to get that free promo code. But in the past, we've just submitted voluntarily surveys to our riders, right? And we don't get as many people filling them out, but we feel like it's about half. So 50% commuters, 50% casual or recreational riders. But a lot of those commuters, they also ride for recreation because we're everywhere and they get a ride for free essentially. And so it's hard to break that stat out completely.
Wow, that's super interesting. I actually would have guessed it more towards utilitarian use.
So these lake stations get so busy that we have people that they drive to the lake because we put the bike share station right at a parking lot. And since e-bikes, since COVID, the aging population is one of they're not our top rider, but they're very busy at these lake stations, and they just ride 1 or 2 laps and then dock the bike. They love it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And if you live in one of those cities, it's free.
Why wouldn't? And they no longer have to bring their bike to the lake because we have bikes right there for them.
Yeah, easy. That's awesome.
Yep.
More butts on bikes. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, let's talk about recreation. Let's talk about Valentine, Nebraska. When you said that when we were riding west out of Guthrie Center, I was like, I swear I've seen a sign for Valentine. I feel like I'm familiar with Valentine, but essentially I know Omaha, Lincoln, and I-80 in Nebraska. And I'm not recognizing it. So I looked it up on a map, and it's like, Valentine looks pretty cool. I was surprised. So tell me about Valentine, Nebraska, and then tell me why there is a bike
Yes,
share program
Valentine
there.
is an amazing community. It's not on I-80, so a lot of people don't know about it. It's north central Nebraska, 10 miles from the South Dakota border. It's a town of around, I think, 2,500 people. It's a smaller community for sure. It sits in Cherry County, which is the largest county by land in Nebraska of the 93 counties. But it's home to a whole bunch of recreational activities. So they have a lot of rodeos that happen there. They have amazing golf. There's like 4 or 5 golf courses. And then they have the Niobrara River that runs through it, which is home to this popular floating or tanking activity where you can sit in inner tubes or you can sit in these like cow tanks, troughs. You just float down the river and drink whatever you want to drink and catch some sunrise.
Get tanked.
Yeah, get tanked. And it is a very popular and fun thing to do. And it's beautiful. The nature, the river is lovely. And Valentine has some amazing gravel to ride on also. I'll throw that out there because we always bring our gravel bikes when we go out there. And then, of course, the Cowboy Trail, which is one of the longest continuous rail-to-trail trails in the country. And it goes through Valentine. And so we put the station on the Cowboy Trail in Valentine where you can ride one of our bikes to this beautiful trestle pedestrian bridge that goes over the Niobrara River that's only accessible by foot or bike. It's about 2.5 miles outside of Valentine. And so there was a little method to the madness and why we decided to put a bike share station in Valentine, which we often refer to as the world's most rural bike share station. And we're pretty sure it is. Because there's more, what's the stat? There's more cows than people in Cherry County.
Oh, wow.
And I originally, I'm from a very small town in Nebraska called North Bend, and I had always thought I would try a bike share station in North Bend. My parents still lived there at the time, and just to test the waters, because I didn't know of any rural bike share station at all at the time. But Valentine was doing a revitalization on their downtown, and some of the feedback they got was that more bicycle amenities would be preferred. And so they reached out to the only bike share operator in Nebraska, which was us, and asked if we'd be interested. Immediately said yes. And then we started planning on how to make it happen. As there wasn't a lot of funding, smaller communities often don't have as much funding. A single bike share station with bikes it's about $50,000-$60,000, which is a significant chunk to a small community. And so we got a little creative, and we found a bike share program in South Carolina that was going under, that wasn't going to operate anymore. So I flew out there with one of my employees, and we put the bike share station in the back of a U-Haul and drove it back to Omaha and refurbed it, and then drove it to Valentine. And we, waived the cost of that $50,000-$60,000. And so it was.
That's awesome.
Some things to consider. It's a 5.5-hour drive from Omaha, and I have no employees in Valentine, so no boots on the ground there. Yep.
Oh,
and sometimes
wow.
our stations go down, or flat tires happen, and so how do we handle that? If the station goes down, I actually FaceTime the mayor of Valentine, who has a key to our kiosk, and just walk them through how to do a hard reset on the station. We've only had to do it
Wow.
2 times, maybe 3 times over the last 6 years, but that is a fun, interesting way that we made this happen. Since we've put e-bikes there, we had to figure out how to do the battery swaps, right? And so the
Right.
Cherry County Tourism director, her office is just 2 blocks from our shop, or from the bike share station in Valentine. And she is actually on our board. As a nonprofit, I have a board of directors, and she's on there. And so she and one of her employees charged the e-bike batteries in their office, and they swap the batteries daily or as needed at the station. And so it's truly a
Wow.
community effort. And that strategy there, I utilize in Omaha as well, um, because we cover 125 square miles for the Omaha program, and some of our stations are so far out, like that state park I mentioned and some of the lake stations. And so I've met people over these years that support us, and they want to support us the best they can, and if they're already there, they've agreed to do battery swaps for me. Um, and so we have,
Huh.
friends or colleagues or businesses even that have some chargers and extra batteries, and they care about the program, and they're oftentimes riders, so they want fully charged bikes as well.
Sure.
And yeah, they do the swaps for us, and so it's works out good. I used to give them all free
Huh.
passes,
That's
but
a
now they all get free passes, so they're truly doing it out of the kindness of their heart.
that's awesome. That's the
It
definition of
it
community,
really
isn't it?
is. It's how I've approached
Yeah.
bike
That's
share this whole time, and how I try to run the organization, and it's worked out so far.
very cool. What kind of ridership does
Oh,
Valentine get? What
yeah,
kind of
it's
usage
definitely
do you
low.
see?
Well, first of all, it's seasonal, so we only have
Oh,
it
sure.
open from like April or May until maybe November, um, and on the ends of those is very low usage because Valentine has a lot of wicked weather. It can be very windy, it can be very
Uh,
cold still, or very hot, or sandstorms. I mean, hey, it's nuts out there, but also very beautiful. So prime time is May, June, and July and August, and it's probably just a couple hundred trips each of those months. So it's pretty low. We still actually hit that 10-15% on system generated revenue. Um, so it still stays on
oh wow.
par for that. And we're kind of limited on how many people are out there. So the usage is going to be lower. We
Sure.
think no matter, like we put e-bikes out there in September, and we definitely have seen a significant increase. We're already past our best year ever, with our first full year of e-bikes, and we knew that would happen. Um, and I don't know if we would add another station out there, but the one station we have no plans on removing because it gets utilized.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you think it's a model for other small towns that have access to
Oh
good
yeah,
places to ride?
absolutely. I mean, you got to get creative. You got to have someone passionate, for sure. Maybe a few passionate people to make it work, because you make no money on these things. There truly is just about like an amenity for the folks there, or like you really gotta, if you love trails or transportation, something along those lines. If you don't have that passionate person, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Huh, that's pretty cool. That's like I said, I was completely shocked. I'm guessing that the majority of usage up there is recreational.
Yeah, we would say all of it. And we,
Yep.
now that we have e-bikes, we actually have some local regular riders. Um, I mean, I guess you could say, people are riding to the bridge, so it is a transportation, but it's, yeah, it's, I don't know,
Scenic.
however you want to
Yep.
classify it.
Yeah. They're not going to
Yeah,
work on the bridge. They're going to
yeah.
enjoy a day on a bike and,
But
and ride out to the
it
bridge.
is like 85% non-Valentine people, because they have so much tourism
Oh,
that it's another thing that the folks visiting Valentine can go do. Like if they're tired from tanking or golfing or doing a rodeo, they go ride an e-bike.
Um, yeah, so I wanted to ask you this. You kind of already have, but give me the sales pitch for Valentine, Nebraska. Why would somebody put it on their places I got to go before I
To
die?
visit? Oh man, I would
Yep.
suggest it to anyone. It is such a unique experience. It has a lot of world's best or world's first type of thing. So, well, to start with, Valentine Bike Share, the world's most rural bike share station, right?
Do you sell
We don't
T-shirts?
yet. We should. We it has something like the world's quietest part of nature. So like this, Yeah, you'll have to look it up. And so it's along the Niobrara, on the river where, uh, people went and conducted sound measurements and said maybe it's the quietest in the northern hemisphere or in one of the world's quietest sections. Um, and to me
Huh.
that's just fascinating. The Cowboy Trail in itself is beautiful. Um, as I mentioned, if you like golfing, it has world class golf, which I've never done before, but apparently it's great. Um, it has a lot of unique restaurants. The food is amazing out there.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
really?
there might be a couple fast food chains, but aside from that, it's just great local restaurants that we always enjoy. We go out, 4 or 5 times a year, and I mentioned we always bring our gravel bikes, and it's the gravel riding is phenomenal if you like to ride on gravel roads. Um, yeah, it's just a great place. It's very affordable. There's 6 hotels there as well, but there's also camping. It's right next to the Nebraska's tallest waterfall at Smith Falls Park, which is a beautiful
Wow.
sight, and taller than you would probably think.
Yeah, I'm
Nope,
picturing
much.
like four
Yeah, I
feet.
forget how many. It's up there. It's great. You should look it up. Um, yeah, I would always encourage it. It has one of the coolest bookstores I've ever been in. Uh, yep, yeah, and
Really?
they're actually adding a theater now as well. They're always doing things too. There's always new things happening, and it's a progressive little town.
Huh. Oh, that's cool. You've actually done a pretty good job of selling me on it. I feel like maybe I should divert north on my trips west when we head
Yeah,
out west.
I would. It's a top
And
five place for me.
go, huh? Very cool. Very cool. Um, I don't know. How do people find you? How do they connect with everything
Yeah.
Rome is
Well,
doing?
roamshare.org is our primary website. What we have found is most people reach out to us on a program specific um, contact. So, like folks in Valentine or that are traveling to Valentine, just go to our ValentineBikeshare.org website. Um, or you can go, if you're in Omaha, it's heartlandbikeshare.org. And then for our Lincoln program, it's bikelink.com. Um, but honestly, any of those will find their way to me, I'm sure. We have an amazing staff too. We have
Sure.
12 full-time employees. Also add that we're second chance
Wow.
friendly. So we work with the sheriff's
Ooh.
office and work with people who are coming out of incarceration if they need employment. Um,
Like the
yes, like
CEO.
myself. Yes, and it's an important part, and it's one of the things that
Yeah, for sure,
makes
for
up
sure.
what we
Honestly,
do.
it is.
And yeah, we love sharing bikes. We like I mentioned, we firmly
Yeah.
believe in this bicycle thing that's been around longer than the cars, but I still find myself having to justify all the time. But we believe in it as a valid form of transportation. I know I'm sitting in my car right now because I had a faraway meeting, but um, I'll often be riding my bike as much as possible. So
I didn't even consider the irony of that
I
until you
was
just mentioned it.
frustrated with my poor planning today, but I knew I wanted to squeeze this in before you left. I was like, we can do it at noon today, but I'm gonna be driving.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't know. I actually did do one interview on a bike with the guy. It didn't
Yeah,
work super great, but it was kind of fun. It does add
yeah.
complication for sure, but that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you squeezing me in today and telling your story. I think uh, kind of all of your programs have a unique story and are good models for what other communities can do throughout the country. I'm thinking, like, I'm sending this. My nephew is the city administrator of a small town in Iowa that's on our trail system. Speak. I'm going to finish this sentence first, and then I'm going to go back to that. Um, and it's a town of 3 or 4 thousand, but tourism is a thing. Like people go there to their bikes, for the restaurants, for the hotel, for the trails, for the history. They've got some kind of cool history, Carnegie Library kind of thing. And I'm sure that Perry's not the only community that a little program like Valentine would work in and be a
Sure.
service for people. I don't think it's a money-making adventure like you said, but it's definitely a great service for folks who want to explore the area. Speaking of trails, I just want to say, like I don't know how I landed on there, probably on the Valentine website or whatever, maybe the Cowboy Trail. I don't know how I ended up there, but I ended up on this website that showed trail systems, mostly rail trails throughout the United States. And I got to say, from Midwestern Nebraska to Delaware, there's really just some missing links to make a trail system that would go from Norfolk, Nebraska to Washington, D.C. It was kind of cool. So I might actually do a screenshot of that and post that when I post information about this thing. But I thought that was kind of cool. And if you hop in a cattle tank, that's one of the missing links, is that river you talked about, which I am going to have you pronounce again. But Niobrara, the link, you'd have to get off your bike, throw your bike into a cattle tank, and then float down to the Platte River and then to the Missouri River.
Yeah,
But
and I think you were talking about the Great American Rail Trail. Yep, and I always remind them that I believe Rome has the most bike share stations on the Great American Rail Trail.
oh wow, which is
No, I
one?
think we're at 12 because it cuts through. Valentine is one of them, and then
And it
it
comes
goes through
down into
Council
Omaha.
Bluffs where we have a couple on the trail. It goes right by our shop
Yep.
in Omaha, and goes all through Omaha, and then takes the Mopac Trail to Lincoln and cuts onto some trails where we have bike share stations in Lincoln as well. Yeah.
Huh, that's pretty cool. Again, another world's most. Another reason to visit Nebraska. That and Fred Hoiberg.
Yeah,
Never mind. We're not going to talk about that. Yeah. Where's my Iowa State hat? All right. Well, listen, I'm going to let you get on with your day. Benny Foltz, I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully people can get their
thanks,
butts
Dave.
on bikes.
This is great. I'm glad we biked into each other on Ragbrai.
Yeah, me too. Ragbrai magic.
I really appreciate Benny making time between meetings, changing batteries, lubing chains, and all the other things it takes to run a large bike share program. I gotta tell you, Dee and I visited Omaha for an afternoon in June, and we vowed to return for a long weekend. And I think it would be super fun to go rent some bikes and tool around town. And I gotta admit, I might just make some time to venture north a bit and see all that Valentine has to offer. It sounds pretty cool. Where did you go on vacation? We went to Valentine, Nebraska. Hey, you only live once, right? Be sure to check out the bike share programs when you're in Omaha, Lincoln, or Valentine, Nebraska. Speaking of fun places to go out and ride a bike, I'd also like to invite you to check out my new YouTube channel, Pedaling Dirt. I've got a couple videos up, and my Ragbrai one, yes, there is dirt on Ragbrai, will be up shortly. In the meantime, be sure to check out the videos I have and hit subscribe. As I am better able to ride and travel, I'll be letting you know about all the other great places to ride and all the other things you can do when you're there. Again, that's Pedaling Dirt on YouTube. It's a travel channel for mountain bikes. Well, thanks again for tuning in to Bike Talk with Dave. I really hope to see you sometime soon out on the roads or trails. Because as you know, nothing beats the simple pleasure of riding a bicycle.